Cassie, welcome to the Granite Zero
Yeah.
podcast. Thank you for
Oh,
coming
thank
on
you. Thank you for having me.
on this early morning for you.
Yes, it is a little early over here, but I'm used to it.
That's madness. If someone said to me, "Do you fancy doing a podcast at 6:30 on a Sunday morning?" I'd go, no, go fuck yourself. It's not happening.
No, well, my motto is I never turn down an opportunity unless my gut tells me to. But I didn't get that feeling from you, so here I am.
I'll take that as a compliment. But thank you
Yeah.
very much for coming on. I first heard you chatting to Brian on the I Got Your Six podcast, and I was very intrigued, very impressed. And I was like, I'm going to worm my way into the DMs on this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good. It was quite eye-opening as well, because obviously I come from a military background myself, and I heard you talking about wanting to go in the infantry first. And obviously when I joined, I was in the infantry. I was in the British infantry. And at that time, there was no females in.
Absolutely.
However, the doors are now open for everybody to rock up and have a go now. So, yeah. So you went on and did, was it helicopter technician or something like that, wasn't it?
I did helicopter technician, yes. Obviously, yes, like you said, I wanted to be infantry initially, but it wasn't open to women. And as you might have heard on Brian's podcast, I kind of have mixed feelings about it just because of military culture and having such a small amount of women as it is, and then the smallest percentage that would actually make it into the infantry and be an effective person to fight next to.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very hard as a woman that wanted to be in to also, I don't want to get slandered for this, but to support women, because I want to make sure that no matter what, who's there is supposed to be there.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said it. We used to watch me and the missus used to watch a program on telly. It's called SAS Who Dares Wins. And they started letting female contestants go on there because they've now opened up the role for women in the special forces, women in the infantry, in all roles, which I'm all for. I said it to my missus that all the time. As long as they can stay to the standard and carry the same weight, do exactly the same job, why the fuck not? But it's when they start saying little things like, "Oh, we'll just cut down the weight." It's like, well, why are you changing the standards? That's what I was always afraid of. I don't think they did. My regiment was actually the first to have a female in the
interesting
in the infantry. I actually asked her to come on the podcast. She refused. Bit rude. bit rude. But yeah, I'm all for it.
Got her own battles going on right now.
She'd have probably
exactly.
got shit.
I mean, I'm all for it. I have a daughter. I'm pro women. But at the same time, I've worked with a lot of women, and I know that some think that equality means that they're allowed in, but at a woman's standard. And I'm sorry, that's just not the case, especially when you're trying to be a force of nature and you're trying to be lethal, Everybody needs to be on the same page. You can't lower the weight. You need to be able to carry your own weight. You should actually be able to carry a little bit more weight, because I'm sorry, we have something to prove. And that's how I always kind of carried myself, is that, I would look at who was next to me and I'd, what are they doing and how can I do it better? Because they're going to be looking at me twice as hard. They're going to be scrutinizing every little move I make. So I need to be that much better so that I could at least blend in as much as I can. Yeah.
And that you find that even with men going into the infantry as well. I found it was a lot easier if you were what we would call the grey man, where you didn't over excel, and you didn't underachieve. You were just in the middle, because you got left the fuck alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was slightly different when you're actually on unit. You can let your personality come out and be a bit more of a yourself. But during training, I found that, like, I can speak from experience here. I was a bit shit in the block, like ironing and fucking get my boots polished and shit like that. I was more of a
You don't say.
I was more of a on exercise soldier. I was better out in the field than I was in the block.
Absolutely.
So I was always constantly targeted because, well, my uniform was in shit state. It was like, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get kicked out of training because I'm shit at ironing a fucking shirt. It's ridiculous. But a few of my friends sort of passed under the radar because they were just so grey. He was like,
yeah.
Well, one of my close mates, Chris, he's been on the podcast quite a few times. I was like, I don't even remember you being on my basic training, but you were there. And he was like, well, this happened.
Yeah, I know. The less they know your name, the better off you are.
Yeah.
Also, on the other flip side, you know, I'm always one to kind of push myself to the max. So as much as I
get
want
that.
to stay under the radar, you just, you know, you kind of go in and give your 100% and wherever that leaves you.
Yeah. You should always. I'm not saying people should like not try because they don't want to get found out, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So, and a previous guest that I've had on.
Exactly what you mean, yes.
A previous guest I had on, Liz Carmouche was a similar unit to you, I believe. She was US Marines. I'm pretty sure she worked on helicopters as well.
US Marines, yeah. Well, that's I mean, for females, there's not a lot of options for actual jobs. I mean, they like to put us a lot in admin.
Yeah.
A lot of support, a lot of supply.
When you hear it that way, it sounds very sexist. In that way, it's like,
yeah.
Well, what are you going to do with a female? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put her in admin because women make really good receptionists. It's like, what? They've joined the military to be in the military. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like they went over, we take a test called the ASVAB, and that's kind of like how you get your job placements in the US military. I'm not sure if you guys have something
very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, very similar. So you get your test results back and you're sitting there with the recruiter and they have all of my jobs that I was able to have open. And then, you know, all of a sudden you see like big red X's like, oh, you're a female, can't go here. You're a female, can't go here. And I'm like, well, I could either pack parachutes or turn wrenches. So I went.
Yeah. So I was in a similar situation. So when I did my aptitude test and things like that, same sort of thing. I had a big list. I was in the Air Force, so I had quite a big list of all these things I wanted to do. Originally, I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps. I wanted to be a physical training instructor, a PTI.
Okay.
And then specialize as a jump instructor. Exactly the same as my dad. People say I'm turning into him anyway, but that's by the by. But that's what I wanted to do. I missed out on that by, I think, 2 marks on the aptitude test. I had a massive list of all these other opportunities that I could do. And I was like, oh, that one will do. I'll join the RAF regiment, the infantry. I'll do that. My dad was like, no. My dad was like, no, get a trade. Become a MT technician, do something, get a trade. I was like, why do I want to do that? Well, if I'm not going to do that, I want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
He was not happy with me. He was like, you're joining the infantry, you're going to be part of you're just mud on the bottom of people's boots. I was like, well, I've been like that for the whole life, so might as well carry it on.
So that's kind of what they told me too. Is that, you know, when I was kind of still processing the fact that, you know, because up until that point, it was 2008 when I joined, so I felt like life was pretty progressive. Yeah, so it was you know, my parents always raised me that I could do anything I set my mind to. So this was the first time I really heard no.
Yeah.
And it was not out of my control. There was nothing I could study for. There was nothing I could work harder for. It was just, you are female and you're not allowed. And so as I was processing that, they were trying to like, you know, you don't want to go there anyway. You're not going to come out with any skills. You're going to be lost. But the whole reason that I joined is because I have this innate feeling that I need to fight for something. I don't know what it is. I have this fire inside of me, and I want to contribute. I didn't get to contribute in the way that I wanted, so I listened to everybody's advice and I took a trade. I took a skill, which I don't regret.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good thing to have at the end of the day. I know you're doing something slightly different now, which we'll get onto in a second. But
yeah,
that was a big worry for my dad, was when I left the Air Force, I didn't have anything to fall back on, which is technically true. Because I went in as the infantry, I came out and I basically became a security guard. I've now gone into management, but it's like, what do I do when I leave? It's like, I've got no skills. I'll do the closest thing as I can to what I was doing.
No skills, though. They say no skills because there's not really a civilian.
Yes, there's no civilian equivalent. It was I could have joined the police, I suppose, but as we know, I can't spell.
My surname's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, we'll get onto your surname in a second, because that's a big elephant in it. But yeah, it's good to have a trade and any sort of skills. But what you can do is adapt what you've learned.
There we go. Yeah.
Into what you do now. You know what
Absolutely. I mean? So like what I would say is, obviously I've never been infantry, but if I was talking to anybody in infantry, I'm pretty good with a resume, and I'm pretty good with marketing myself job wise, is that you can take the skills that you learn, but you have leadership, you have team management, you have all of these other things that translate into a resume and make you marketable for an employer. So to say that you were infantry doesn't mean that you don't have life skills. You have more life skills than half the people out there. You have life experience, which is something that you can't teach people. So for me, that's kind of been my motto, is that even if I'm applying for a job that I'm not qualified for, I have all of this skill set right here that shows me that I can do that job probably just as well once I get up on the training.
Yeah. So here's one, because I heard you talking to Brian on the thing, and I just wanted to, because we had a similar sort of situation where you said you were one of the only females to go onto your unit. Is that correct? Or have I just completely bro science that up?
Very few. Yeah, there's like a handful.
Yeah.
No, there's a handful. I could probably count on my hands how many males we have in a couple
hundred. So what would happen, like, on our unit, because we are 99.9% male. Occasionally we would have a medic when we're getting ready to deploy that would be a female, or we would have, again, an admin clerk or something like that. And I don't want to like assume anything, but for us it was like flies around shit. Like, oh my God, we've got a woman. Like she could have fallen from like the ugly tree and hit every branch, but it didn't matter because everybody would be around there. It's like, come on.
Absolutely.
You'd have the married blokes that would be like, can you just leave her alone? Like,
yeah.
Like, did you have the similar sort of thing? Did you, or was it different because you had?
For sure, yeah. I can tell you that any female in the military, we're just a minority straight off the bat. I don't care. You have 10 women or 2 women in the unit. You're all getting treated the same because there's still just such a larger ratio. It's got to be at least 8. I would say 95% male, 5% women. And that's in a unit that's used to having females in it. So they would literally smell us coming, and I would watch it happen. And the woman wouldn't even have to be wearing perfume. They could literally smell the shampoo. Like it was actually a phenomenon. They would sniff when she would walk by. So that's just like a small tidbit. But yeah, they would flock like flies to shit. They would be able to. They didn't care what you looked like, as long as you had all the parts that they wanted. They wanted to talk to you. They wanted to be around you. They wanted to try whatever they could with you, to the point where, I'm very comfortable with eating alone. I've been a loner most of my whole life. And I would have to tell people to leave my table because I was so comfortable eating alone that people saw it as an invitation to come sit with me.
Lady on her own. Do you can I come and join you? Hey, how about you go and play a nice game of hide and go fuck yourself? I'm
Yeah,
eating alone.
exactly. They look at
Yeah,
me and be like, "Oh, what nationality are you?" As in the nationality of being left alone. Please leave me alone. Get out of here.
yeah,
So that was one thing. Another thing was another phenomenon that I see with women is that if you're too attractive, people don't respect you. If you're not attractive enough, people don't respect you. So you kind of have to find that middle ground where you're not distracting, but at the same time, you're not terrible to look at.
yeah, yeah. I
If you
get
see
you.
around.
Yeah,
So I spend a lot of my time kind of trying to walk that tightrope. I spend a lot of my time not wearing makeup because they would think that I put it on for them,
yeah,
or but also trying to keep myself in shape and looking nice because if I was too ugly, then
yeah.
it's
But
unfortunate.
also, it's for your self-esteem as well. You don't want to go, well, I'm going to ugly myself down today. It's
Oh,
like,
absolutely not.
I
But
don't,
that's
yeah, yeah,
survival, though. Also survival.
yeah. But it's also that crazy thing, isn't it? It's like, if a pretty girl smiles at you, like, hold on, is she flirting with me,
Yeah.
or do I give her a wink back or something? But to be fair, I've never been in
No,
that
we're just trying
situation.
to be friendly.
Never been in that situation. I'm socially awkward, so if someone did that with me, I'll be like, all right, and then carry on walking.
Yeah. All the best people are though.
Yeah,
Socially awkward ones. But I had a motto that I kind of came up with when I was in is that you could either they viewed you as either three types when you were a female. You were either a lesbian, which then they kind of left you alone, but then they were a little bit intrigued, but mostly left you alone.
yeah.
You were a total cunt. Sorry for the language, but
No, I love that.
yeah.
See bomb all you want.
Yeah, exactly. You had to be ruthless,
Yeah,
or if you showed any kind of friendly demeanor, you were automatically a slut. Because if you had any kind of friendly conversation, if you were smiling and laughing with somebody, you
yeah,
were automatically sleeping with them because perception is reality.
yeah.
So as I was 17 years old when I joined. I came from the mountains, pretty much the Appalachian Mountain Trail. I lived in New Jersey, but it was up in the boondocks, so I was pretty sheltered from the intentions of males. I really didn't know about the world. Think about it, 17 years old going in. I didn't know.
Yeah. That's a hell
So
of
I
a shock.
started,
Big shock
yeah,
factor for you.
yeah,
Is it? Is
up
it?
to the system.
Yeah,
I had no idea about people, about men, about life. Yeah. So I just had to turn into that fun. And then that weighs on your soul too, because then everybody thinks you're a poisonous bitch that's walking around, but at the same time, at least you leave me alone.
yeah. You perfected the resting bitch face, as they say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really resting, very active, but
Just
very
active
active.
bitch face.
Yeah, active bitch face all the time. Fuck off. Like
Yeah. Just hey, just leave me the fuck alone. Yeah, I get
yeah.
that. And I found, well, I say I found it worse. I've never experienced any of that. But when when we went out on tour for my third tour, we were actually attached to attached with the US Marines, and there was always different rumors about ladies being like, sorry, this could be a triggering subject for some people if they're listening, getting like,
Promiscuous.
yeah, getting promiscuous. But then there's others that like literally were raped. Like it's fucking madness. And it's like you're out in a fucking war zone.
Absolutely.
A woman doesn't need to be going out on a fucking jog or whatever around camp with a high vis belt on and then getting pulled into a fucking van. It's like, fuck,
Absolutely.
how does that even happen?
It's
But it does, clearly.
It does. So I was quite obviously I wasn't in a combat role because I wasn't allowed to be. So
Yeah.
when I was in country, I was in Afghanistan. Um, I'll be honest, I was less afraid of, enemy fire and
Yeah.
insurgents than I was just the Marines and other, soldiers that were on the base.
Yeah,
Yeah, just because, and I'm not even talking about in my own unit. I pretty much knew a lot of people in my own unit and who to watch out for. I'm talking about other people that were there.
yeah. I get that. Yeah.
Other people that started to know your routine, because I'm sorry, there's not many places you can go.
No,
They
no,
see you
exactly.
walking to work at 6 a.m. They see you walking home at, at a certain point, and they just get to know your routine. So when I would go into the shower, a lot of the showers would be unlocked, so there's no way to stop from men from coming in. We would bring our rifles with us, but I mean, it's just something you would look out for. You would hope that another female is on your unit, and you can kind of look
Yeah.
out for them. But you would get
buddy
approached by,
system. Yeah.
yeah. But unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of camaraderie through the females. They kind of taught that. It was kind of more, unfortunately, a competition based, and for me, it wasn't competition based on male attention. It was my job. If I didn't feel good at your job, I didn't really want to,
Yeah, I get that.
be associated with you. Yeah.
Which is a crazy thing compared to the male side, because it literally is like, inverted commas, a brotherhood. Like, you look out for your mate. You're looking out for, even if he's not your close mate, but still you're on the same unit, we're buddies. I'm looking out for you, whatever. But it's like there's a different sort of competitiveness within females, whether it's for attention, not for attention, doing better at your job. It's
absolutely, because they would pit you against each other. When a new female would be coming into the shop, they'd be like, "Oh, are you nervous? What am I nervous about?"
Yeah. Does she know? Does she know what I'm doing right now? No. She hasn't got a clue. Cool. I'm happy.
So you guys can drool over her, and I can go back out to the aircraft and just be left the fuck alone.
Yeah, I can actually do my job. She can be the distraction for you. Cheers, easy.
Exactly. But the big question I always get from a lot of civilians when they find out that I'm in the military, they always think, "Oh, they must have taken such great care of you. It's a brotherhood. They're looking out for you." And I was like, I had a couple brothers that definitely looked out for me. That's probably why I've made it through, but without, terrible incidents. But for the majority, no, they are not looking out for you. And I will tell you, they do not like hearing no. That's for a fact. Not many men do like hearing no, but when you take 18-year-old guys, you deprive them of women, and you pretty much make them think that they're gods and killing machines, which is what the Marine Corps does.
Yeah, there's a lot of testosterone flying around.
A lot of testosterone, a lot of, I would say, entitlement almost, that,
I get that.
How dare you say no? You're not even that pretty. Look at you. You're not even that fit. You're not even that whatever.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. So they would cut down your self-esteem. And then if they were really threatened, they would spread rumors. And once one rumor gets out, it's game over for you.
Doesn't stop.
No, it's a very small community. So people would know you before you even got to the base. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. That happens all through even the British forces.
Oh yeah.
We had a medic whose nickname was Noddy, because nodding her head a lot. We won't go into too much detail on that.
I hate to laugh about that, but
yeah. She enjoyed going to infantry units, put it that way. Yeah. Very, very shit at her job, but good at other things, apparently.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Easy to get promoted. What? Who said that? Nah, I'm joking. But one thing I do want to touch on, because I'm actually quite intrigued on how you got into cannabis and the stuff around cannabis. Excuse me. Personally, I use CBD oil because, I use it to help with my mental health, but I also use different muscle balms that they've produced, especially the company that I use, because let's face it, my ankles, my knees, my back, all the joints from carrying fucking ridiculous weight, but now carrying my own ridiculous weight. I use it because it helps with inflammation. It helps lower my stress levels, etc. But have you always been intrigued by it, or have you? Because obviously you can't use it while you're in the military. As in
So
cannabis, I
no,
mean.
so actually the funny thing is that before, when I was in high school, I didn't touch it.
Yeah,
I
same.
was really big into sports, and I was athletic, and I thought that everybody that smoked weed was a loser
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah.
that's what society told me. They have no ambition, they have no nothing. Then I went in and I was stationed in California, and I was kind of around for California to do the whole medical card movement, and starting to see how legalization kind of
Yeah.
started to look, and you started seeing professionals that would do it. And I thought that was interesting. And I was definitely starting to struggle with my own mental health issues, a lot of anxiety. Just from, being in the military, you just have anxiety as it is,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that just create that in you, because you can't be late, you can't be shitty, you're just always looking after your back.
That
So then you had,
that's my main one is lateness.
oh, it gets, yeah, my chest tightens. I literally have sweats,
Yep.
even to this day.
I
But
pace.
yeah, exactly. So I started to feel that. Then you had a couple traumatic experiences on top of it, and just the burdens of everyday life, and of course with the military, heavy drinking.
Yep.
What everybody used to kind of escape, and that just messes with your body chemistry as it is. So by
Yeah,
the time I got out,
it's mad, isn't it? Because that is the worst thing you could really do.
absolutely, and
It
that's what's
is
legal,
drink.
and that's what's celebrated.
Yeah, it's like
So,
I still do it now. I'll go. I'll meet up with the lads and we'll go for a drink and end up having a couple too many. It feels good at the time, and then in the morning you're like, oh fuck me.
what did I do? Absolutely, I
But
poisoned
but
myself.
but also you feel good when you're doing that. But if you a bit like me, I suffer quite badly with depression. So if I start drinking too much,
Oh
then
yeah.
my little demon starts to pop out and go, are you okay? Do you remember me or not?
Yeah, yeah,
It
your
starts
serotonin goes way down.
yeah,
Everything else comes way up, and
yeah. which
yeah.
is
So,
why I started using CBD. I haven't actually started smoking cannabis or anything like that because it's still technically illegal over here, I think, unless it's medically prescribed.
absolutely.
Although one of my neighbors, he blazes that shit up and it smells delicious. I came out of my shed the other day after doing a podcast, and I was like, smells like Amsterdam. It's like,
Yeah, nice deep breath in.
yeah, it's like,
Toxic, right? But
I always say it every time I do it, even if I'm on my own. I go, "Are you gonna share that?"
yeah.
And then I get no response. I'm like, God damn
No,
it.
absolutely not. Nobody wants to share. Come on now. Especially if you're not supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, so I was especially towards the end, I was drinking a lot, and then I started getting to the point where anytime I would drink, I would black out. And then that's when I noticed that, and I didn't notice in the moment, but I would be told the next day that all of my repressed emotions would be coming out. I'd be yelling about things that I haven't thought about in
Yeah,
years. I would actually think that people that were in front of me were other people from my past, and just, I'd just be a lunatic, to be honest, while I was drinking. So then I stopped drinking. I was getting through the process of getting out of the military, right? And then I really didn't start delving into cannabis. I dabbled here and there when I was out, but it was illegal.
yeah,
Um, and then I ended up pregnant with my daughter, and I gave birth to her, and I was struggling with postpartum.
yeah,
And I just, then I was, add that on top of all the other stuff that I'm dealing with.
yeah.
And
That's a hell of a cocktail you've got
oh yeah, estrogen's a hell of a drug. I don't know what to
there.
so I just felt a little bit out of control. And at the time, I live in New York. I'm in New York City. I live in Brooklyn. So at the time, the medical cards were able to be distributed they opened up for PTSD and obviously pain management. So I started going through the VA system, and I started working on my medical card, and I ended up getting certified in the state of New York. I was like, here I am, I'm legal, because we haven't touched on it yet, but I'm a registered nurse. So
Yep, we'll get to
yeah, obviously,
that.
yeah, obviously as a mother and a registered nurse, I felt like I had a lot to lose going into cannabis. So I was a
Yeah,
little bit in the closet, so to speak. But that's kind of how I started getting into it. And I was like, well, it's kind of unfair that people can go home and slam a whole bottle of wine, and it's laughable.
Yeah.
For me to have a few puffs to sleep at night is unfortunately
It's
demonized.
mad, isn't it? How they demonize
Yeah.
different things, and a lot of it goes down to, well, obviously the government and how they make money off different things. Obviously, they're not making money off cannabis, but they do from.
Yes, because it's not taxable. They
Yeah,
can put it into
yeah,
the
exactly.
system.
So it's like, no,
Yeah,
you
and then
can go
another
and
thing would be
drink your bottle of Jack Daniels. That's fine. Go in and kill yourself with that. But the stuff that actually
yeah,
can physically make you better, oh, you can't have that. No.
no, absolutely not. What do you think you're doing with your life? You can't carry on a normal life being a drug addict. Meanwhile,
But
you have all of these antidepressants.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said. It was sort of demonized when you were like growing up in, like, we call it secondary school, high school.
Mhm.
Like you'd have your. I had quite a vast circle of friends, and a few of them were actually stoners. And you're like, you guys are just lazy, just getting baked all the time. It's like, but then you actually now fast forward into the future, and you look at like people like Joe Rogan, for example.
Yeah.
I always use Joe Rogan because he's the benchmark. He's the hero of podcasting.
Podcast.
But it's like you look at him and you're like, that guy loves fucking weed. He smokes it,
and
even during highly successful.
Yeah.
He's a physical unit as well. He's 50 plus years old. He looks far better than most people, but it's just mad how it's demonized. It's just craziness. Like,
they did that on purpose, obviously, like you said, for money.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and even now, if I managed to get some now, it was like I wouldn't be able to tell like my parents, because they still see it as a gateway drug or whatever. It's like, no, it's not.
Absolutely.
Do some research.
Absolutely. So I grew up watching my father do it. But so my father, speaking on mental health, was he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
All right. Yeah.
Didn't want to do anything about it. He had a very traumatic childhood. He was in the foster system. So the only way he would manage it was smoking weed, smoking cannabis is what so I watched him do it, but at the same time, I wanted to be nothing like my father. So
yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So I always kind of associated the two together until I got older and I started having some, feelings and issues of my own. And I was like, you know what, that makes sense. Even though he didn't want to be medicated and he didn't do any kind of correct treatment or any kind of therapy that I knew of at the time. That's how it made it livable.
Yeah,
if that's what you call it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And you touched on the antidepressants and other pills and things like that.
Oh yeah, well they love to.
They do, because I got this. This is the crazy thing. So when I went to see my my GP to talk about my mental health issues that I've got, I literally, all I had to do was fill out this little form, and I was like, I could have just made that up.
Absolutely.
Like, I didn't. I was completely honest when I was doing it, because I was in shit state. I was fucking having suicidal thoughts. I was fucking.
Yeah, you don't have to make anything up. You're living it.
Yeah, I was living it, and she went, "Okay, I'm gonna prescribe you with I can't remember what I was on, Sterling, I think it's called."
Oh yeah, Sterling. Yep.
And I was on the highest dose that I could be on, and I was like, "But you were very quick to go, I'll prescribe you with pills instead of, I will prescribe you with, how about you go and see this therapist? How about you do this?"
Absolutely.
Because the reason why I stopped going to therapy was, one, it was too expensive and I couldn't afford it. And two, I went to 2 or 3 sessions. I got a lot of emotions out. I had a lot of tears. And I was like, well, I'm fixed now. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
Typical former, or you could say veteran, was like, oh, I'm fixed now. I'm done. Cool. I wasn't. I was still in shit. I was still in shit state. This is my therapy now, talking to people like you across the road, across the world, shall I say?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I did the wrong thing and went cold turkey with my antidepressants. I went, well, I'm not taking them anymore. Yeah, it was horrible as well, because where my antidepressants made me balanced, I was also very numb. I didn't have any feelings, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling of. I like to be as much of an introvert as I am. I like to be able to feel things. Like if I'm watching a movie and it's sad, I want to feel sad. I don't want to just be sat there going, oh. And silly little things like going through Instagram and going on reels and finding an annoying cunt that makes me angry. I like to be made angry. I'm a bit like the Hulk. I like to be angry.
Human experience.
Yeah. So I was like, well, fuck this. I'm not taking them. And instead of weaning myself off, I went, I'm not taking them. And I went on a huge downhill, and it was a scary one.
Yeah.
But eventually I managed to sort my life out. I went and did another similar type of therapy called Inner Armor, which was incredible. I've had Al on the show a couple of times. He's done the techniques with me to fix me, you might say. Just add tools to the back belt. But I use those sort of techniques. I take CBD oil and things like that, and eventually I balance myself out. Occasionally I'll have a little blip, but it's very few and far between now. The recovery process is going quite nicely, and being able to sit and have a conversation with the likes of yourself, that helps, because you can probably tell by the way I'm talking quite fast because I'm excited, because because this is my happy place. This is where I come and have good conversations. And I think I put it on the little post that I put on about having you on after you shared it first, and I put having conversations is one of the main keys to recovery.
Absolutely.
You could literally talk about anything. We literally have been talking about military, cannabis. We're going to go on to your job now.
Yeah.
In a second, but it's just having a conversation, and you just feel better about it. And we're not sat. Occasionally, yes, I'll have a whiskey while I'm sat here, but it's fucking 11 o'clock in the morning. That's not going to happen.
No.
But we're not going into a deep state, a dark state, and it's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like I'm a big believer in talk therapy, but you have to be ready for it, and you have to find the right person that's going to be there with you. Somebody that keeps taking you back to dark times and keeps making you relive memories when you're not ready is not going to be the person for you. You're not going to stick with it. You need somebody, like you mentioned, that's going to put tools in your belt so that when you have emotions, you can identify what you're feeling, what made you feel it, and then you can start to rationalize yourself out of, that heightened state that you might be in for no reason. For no reason. There's a reason for you. But everybody else on the outside is like, what are you getting so worked up about?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So talking definitely helps, and I'm so happy to be here and that you invited me to be part of your recovery.
Yeah. Well, it's taken a long process with it. We're coming up to 3 years now of doing the podcast, and it's just getting better and better. There's little things. I've now got lights in the shed, like proper lights. It's little things. Like I first started, I was recording on my iPhone. And it was and it was just like sat on the chair, and I've been talking. But now I've got a fucking mic. I've got a Mac. It's the process is good. It's good.
It's coming along, absolutely.
So your job now, you're a registered nurse. Is it? What sort of avenue in nursing have you gone down? Could I ask?
So I started off very near and dear to the military in a traumatic brain injury unit. Yes. That was my first experience. I started off in traumatic brain injury, spinal, and stroke. So I had a lot of young guys with a lot of, brain injuries. Now they weren't military related. It was very emotionally heavy. I bet it was. To kind of go home every day and not carry that with me. But I felt for my patients and I kept showing up, but I ended up with, I had my own back issues from the military. And I ended up actually, I was cleaning a patient, and you can't always wait for a second hand because you're not going to let the patient sit in their own feces.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer treating them all like your family. I wouldn't let my brother sit there in his own feces. So I went to clean him, and he was a very tall man that had no ability to assist me. And I ended up herniating a disc so badly that I ended up with spinal stenosis, and I ended up going out for surgery for my back. And this happened on February 27th of 2020. So I was literally out 2 weeks before COVID hit the States. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, but at the time I was pissed because here I am and I'm like, I missed my second fight. First time because I was a female, second time because because of my spine.
Yeah.
You know, and looking back on it, everything has its reasons, and maybe I didn't get to my fight yet. Maybe it's still coming up. But then I switched over into surgical because I needed something where I wasn't, you know, lifting people by myself and doing that. So I ended up going into plastic surgery. So now I run an OR for a surgeon in Manhattan. His name is Dr. Darren Smith. He's an excellent boss. I went through a whole range of surgeons before finding him, but the thing that I love about that more, you say plastic surgery, like, oh, it's not real medicine. We're making boobs, we're making butts. But the thing I love about it most is, first of all, we're altering the human body. So there's something amazing about that. And plastic surgery was born in war. You know, all of the advancements that we have in plastic surgery are from World War II, World War I, Korea. You know, when we were having trench warfare, we didn't know what to do with all these soldiers that were losing half of their face.
Yeah.
That's where the advancements of plastic surgery come in, and that's where, you know, my passion for the field kind of comes in.
Yeah. Because like you said, it's when if you said I'm a nurse for it's like, oh, so you're just making you're making girls' tits bigger. It's like, well, we do more than that. We do.
Yeah, we do a lot more than that, and with the rise in plastic surgery right now because of COVID, everybody's able to kind of work from home, so they come and they get it. So now it's a lot more open to not just the rich upper class. We see people from all walks of life, maybe doing some small adjustments, but it's still, you know, for me. And this is probably a military trait, but I'm always preparing for the apocalypse. I'm always preparing.
That's a Marine thing, I think.
That is a Marine thing. I'm always preparing for the entire society to shut down and go to shit. And so I'm over here thinking, well, if I can get proficient in plastic surgery, I will be efficient in the apocalypse, because you always need surgeons, you know.
Yes,
although
you do.
I'm not a surgeon, but in an emergency situation, I would be able to fix laceration.
You could handle yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, most people will go fucking doing tits, doing ass, doing all that, but people also forget about like burn victims and things like that. Or if a gentleman has had a bar fight and he's had his nose caved in and it's plastered across his face, you need it fixed.
You need it fixed, yeah, and you want a plastic surgeon, because I'm sorry, I've seen lacerations fixed in just a general emergency department, and you're not going to walk out looking too pretty.
No, it's scarring as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like it's crazy. But you've had surgery yourself, haven't you? From what I heard on going through your thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So aside from my back surgery, so going kind of back to, I want these motherfuckers to leave me alone.
Yeah.
When I went in when I was 17, naive young girl, I was also very well endowed in the chest. I was probably about double D at the time, and that was definitely a factor into people wanting to talk to me. My nickname at the time was Tits.
So I could speak from experience. So my wife is very busty, shall we say? And I'm going to quote one of your things that you said on I don't know which. I was scrolling for you at Instagram, and I say it to the missus all the time, because I'm a boob guy. I can't fucking. I'm not going to say I'm not, because I married my wife and she is large chested, and she always moans about her back hurting because her tits are so big.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, if I could afford it, I'd get a breast reduction." And I always say, and I quote, because I'm going to quote it from yours as well, "Why would you want to do that? That's like slapping God in the face for giving you a perfect gift." And I'll hold my hands up. I've said that to her all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I like them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little different when you're their partner, though.
Yeah. I get that.
Coming up on the street, you know?
I get that. I wouldn't say it to you, for example, and go, "Hey, Cassie, you're slapping God in the face." Keep those.
I know, but you have some claim to them. You did marry them, but
yeah, I'll take that.
but for the men that have no claim to them, then it's a little bit off-putting when they would say something like that.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
could
so
see that. I could see that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, because you know, I also did suffer from back issues then too. So I did. I had a breast reduction at 20, and I was kind of like, ah, fuck you, motherfuckers, come at me now, like. um but you know, it didn't stop them, it did deter them. I lost a couple of the nicknames, which I loved. um but you know, so then
As if someone just
about
called you tits.
probably 10 years later, tits, no, that's what I was called. Hey, tits, come here. You know, and then that was
Hey,
always my
tits.
description. You know, the blonde girl with the big tits, you know.
Yeah, my wife used to get that. She used to get that.
Yeah, yeah, and when you're trying to fly under the radar and be that gray man, as you say, that does not help. You
Yeah,
know, you're a woman as it is, and then when you have features that people
yeah,
want to be around, then it doesn't help.
I bet.
Um, so the harassment kind of went down a little bit after getting a reduction, but then, you know, I got out. I had my daughter. You know, at the time, and I think I mentioned this before, I wanted to be flat. I wanted to be, you know, pretty much just a step above a man, because I wanted to be treated equally,
Hmm.
because I was putting in equal, probably more effort than most of them, you know. And but 10 years later, I had my daughter, and I did all of that, and I was like, well, this is bullshit. I kind of want them back, you know.
Yeah,
So luckily, in my line of industry, I was able to get my I got two surgeries. I got a breast reduction, and then I got implants 10 years later. And I really honestly wouldn't do anything differently, because it was all part of my process.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm very happy. But that was also part of me reclaiming my femininity, because that was something I had to relearn too. I kind of had to relearn how to be a woman, because I used to look down on people that wore makeup, because in the military, that was you wanting attention from men.
yeah, yeah. I understand that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously, being in a male-rich environment, you
Oh,
tend to sort of adapt what they're like. So you,
oh, what their standards are. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Because you never wanted to be the one that was worried about your
yeah.
nails.
You're one of the guys. You might want to say
Yeah, one of the guys.
one of the guys.
That was my goal. It'd be one of the guys. They would tell me the most disgusting stories. And even if they made me uncomfortable, or even if I didn't want to hear them, I would just kind of sit there and be a part of the conversation. Because what am I going to go do? Sit in the corner? It's all of
Yeah,
them. They're
yeah,
all
yeah,
talking. So I'm either going to ostracize myself and be that girl, or I'm just going to be included and at least get an idea of what these guys are thinking. So if any of them come at me, I know, well,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
a disgusting animal. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Which is probably 90%.
about 97.
Yeah,
Let's be
in
honest.
the high 90s, in the high 90s.
Yeah, in the high 90s. Yeah.
But yeah, touching back on we'll go with the CBD thing, because obviously
Yeah.
I'm an ambassador for it now.
Yeah.
Um, like my wife for one, and we'll say my mum, her partner, they always say to me, they're like, but when I get high taking it, it's like, no, it doesn't
Yeah.
have any, it doesn't have the THC in it. It's just got the,
No.
it doesn't have the psychedelic bit. It's got the good bits. Not saying that the psychedelic bit isn't good, because obviously that can help with
To each their own. Yeah.
yeah, with mental health issues, other sort
Yeah.
of brain cognitive. But I'm like, you don't need to be worried about it. And then I've had a few veterans and a few servicemen ask me, what won't I test positive on the piss test
Yeah.
for the drugs tests? And it's like, well, no, most of them will tell you on the label it is like 99.99999% free.
A chance that you won't.
Yeah, yeah. There's a chance that there might be a little bit still in there, because
So,
it
well,
may.
what they do is that it's such a small, the reason CBD is legal is such a small amount. So if you're doing, so there's a difference between full spectrum and isolate. So
Yeah.
if you're doing full spectrum CBD, there is a very small percentage of THC in there, because it does help. It's called the entourage effect,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps the rest of the plant chemicals basically um, be absorbed by the brain, you know, or the area that you're treating. So it actually helps the absorption. It helps just the entire experience. Now, if you were gonna pop on a piss test, you would literally have to chug the whole bottle of CBD to
Yeah,
get an amount that's high enough for you. Just down the, you'll be asleep for 3 days and then you'll pop on your piss test. But
yeah.
but that's pretty much, you would have to take an extremely high quality, that 1% chance. Then they would use the isolate, which is they take the THC completely out. And even if you drink 5 bottles in a row, you'll never pop on a piss test. You might just have a stomach ache, you know?
Yeah, we don't recommend that.
No, we don't recommend it. Appropriate on the package. I'm just saying what it would take for you to pop on a test with CBD would be high. You would have to grossly abuse it. You would have to grossly abuse it. And then it doesn't have the intoxicating effect. So for me as well, I also utilize CBD because in my line of work, I can't use the intoxicating portion.
Yeah, of course. Well,
that
makes sense.
Me, I have the med card. I use it at night to help me sleep. But during the day, it's CBD salves, like you said, for, you know, residual back pain. And then if I'm having anxiety or I feel my heart beating extra fast, I have a CBD vape pen, non-psychoactive, that I can smoke, and it doesn't affect my performance or my judgment or any kind of clarity.
Yeah, I use the little drops. I tend to. Yeah. I took some just before I came out to start the show because I could feel myself getting anxious because times, even though I started early because I'm an idiot, and I thought I told you 11 o'clock, but I didn't. I was like, I would have thought she'd have been here by now. She said, and I was like, let me check my 1:30.
I know, I had a feeling when you sent me the link. I was like, I hope he's not expecting me right now because I was still driving. No.
I was like, yeah. So I took some then. I always take it before I go to bed because I find as soon as I lie down in bed, that's where my mind goes, ha ha ha. I'm gonna annoy you now because my brain doesn't like to settle anyway. My wife finds it hilarious. I always find something new to do. So it started off when I left the military. I had to do a Spartan race. I did that. Then it was a boxing match. Then it was the football match the soccer match that I've just put on. And then she's now said, "Have you finished now?" But in my head, I've got more things to do. And every time I go to bed, I'm like, well, perhaps I could put on like a gala or like a ball or something. And I'm like, I know quite a few people with like little blue ticks on their Instagram. I could get a few people to come and speak and auction stuff off. And it's like, I could do that. And then I could do another football match. I could get another Premiership Legends team to come and play us. Oh, I could do. It's like, will you just chill the fuck out?
Absolutely.
Turn your fucking brain off for 5 minutes.
Content.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I've got in my head, I want to start up a sort of a mental health sort of charity, but it's like, where do I start? Where do I start with that? How do I get that going? It's like,
that's a whole nother story. Believe me, I've been down that road.
Yeah, it's because I see these things on telly, and you've got like Mind, which is a big mental health charity down here. We've got Calm, we've got the Samaritans, all these things. The Samaritans are brilliant. I'll say that because they do actually answer the phone. But a lot of these big charities, they're shit. Yeah. Like they don't answer the
things.
They don't unless you have a sexy issue, then or a celebrity, we'll say. They ain't going to give you support. They'll pretend they give you support, and then people will fundraise for
money
them.
To say that they're going to give you support.
Yeah,
but
I had it with a good few military charities when I first actually sought out help for my mental health. I went and spoke to the RAF Benevolent Fund. I'm gonna call you out. I'm doing it. I spoke to the RAF Benevolent Fund. I spoke to the Royal British Legion, which I will always support the Royal British Legion because what they have done in the past. Help for Heroes is another one. All these big charities. I reached out to them and said, "Look, I'm suffering with depression, PTSD," and it's like, "Yeah, okay." we'll send a caseworker to contact you. I never got.
There you go.
I never got any of that, and I was like, well, if I had been blown up, for example, and I lost a leg, then they would be all over it because.
Of course.
I don't want to sound bitter or anything like that, but that's a sexy injury. That's a talking. That's in those sort of terms.
Something that people can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that they can do a photo op for and be like, look, we're in this guy. You can't take a picture of mental health, you know?
Yeah, because
you can't advertise it.
Yeah, because for example, you could. I'm your caseworker. I've called you in for. You've got a mental health issue, and we're going to do a photo shoot. And you come in and you look happy, you're smiling. And they're like, "Well, there's nothing wrong with this fucking person."
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. Or you bring him in and he looks like shit, and then it's like, well, we don't want to make this guy the poster child of our.
No, exactly.
He looks like shit.
Yeah. This guy's fucking homeless. It's like, well, no shit. No shit, he's homeless. Exactly. And there's fucking too many homeless veterans out there.
Absolutely.
There's too many. Right, I'll rephrase that. There's too many homeless people out there, not just veterans. And I think, going back to sort of mental health and things like that, throughout these last couple of years, it's just gone on a fucking upward rise. It's madness.
Yeah. Well, people are stuck, kind of sitting at home with their thoughts, and they're kind of stuck, reliving things.
Yeah, and. My wife is terrible for this shit, so she has really bad anxiety. She could get a bite from a mosquito, for example, and think that her arm is going to fall off or something.
Yeah.
Because her anxiety goes through the roof, and I'm like, I was like, if we swap brains, it'd be even worse because you would have my depression and I would have your anxiety. I was like, our kids must be well fucked up. And you look at them, and they're so. My daughter's happy as Larry. My eldest suffers quite badly from anxiety, but that's because that's a school anxiety that she has. Whenever the teacher says there's a test, her brain will go into overdrive, and it's bad. But if for example they're just doing a bit of homework, and then she does a little test at the end, but they don't call it a test. She aces it. She's
okay.
Yeah, as soon as you say test, it's like the world's just ended. Bless her.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the real pandemic is the real pandemic is this. The mental health issues that everybody is got. It's like you said, you're stuck in the house. A lot of people were stuck in the house on their own, especially over like Christmas time and things like that. It's like we could all do more. A lot of people say that they'll do more, but how many people actually do pick up the phone or do a FaceTime? And now you're actually allowed out. Go and knock on the door and say, "Are you all right?"
Yeah. How's everybody checking in? But
I got some cannabis. Do you want to share it?
Yeah. There we go. That's where the sharing comes in. That's where the sharing comes in. Yeah. I mean, I see it. At least I live in New York City, so
that must have been strange because obviously New York is so
compact. Yeah.
Yeah, and the city that never, or the state that never sleeps. I always get that wrong.
Yeah, it's a city that never sleeps. But it was definitely a weird experience. It was so weird. It was strange to see everything so empty.
Yeah.
I still don't take the subway now or the public transportation just because it was a time where you were the only one on it with the homeless population. So it was a very dangerous time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Public transportation. And the times that I go in. So now I just take the car. But it was definitely an interesting time. My daughter, who was probably around the pandemic, was probably just turned 5 around that time. We would hear sirens constantly, obviously during the height of the pandemic, and it would give her anxiety, but she's lived in New York, her whole life. So sirens are like, she goes to sleep to them.
Yeah.
But it definitely was, it was hard for a lot of people and a lot of children.
Yeah.
But she
kids especially.
Yeah.
But the good thing about kids are they bounce back, and it's like that my girls, they might be similar to yours. When on a Sunday, they'll get their little anxiety. I don't want to go to school tomorrow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't feel well. It's like, come on. Do you not think I used? Do you not think I used to do this? Go to bed. But as soon as Monday comes and then Tuesday, they're happy. It's like because they're playing with their friends, and that's a big thing.
Exactly. Once you're there, you just got to get them over the hump, and that's the kind of thing that I do with my daughters. I'm very open with all of the tools that I learned in therapy, and I like, well, why are you feeling this way? What are you worried about? You do this every day, you know. And when you kind of take away the fear, when you rip the Band-Aid off for them, it kind of helps them rationalize, and they're like, yeah.
I'll do that with especially with my eldest. My youngest is she's fine. She's like she's solid. She's funny. She cracks me up daily. Like this morning, she was on FaceTime to one of her best friends. They were playing Roblox or something.
Oh yeah, my daughter's all.
But you could hear it. She was singing songs. Like I was like, "Hey, it's 7:30. Shut the fuck up."
Absolutely.
But yeah, my eldest, you have to. We have to sort of monitor because her brain does go wild. Like last night, for example, use this as a good example. So she made an extra profile on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
She's obsessed with Stranger Things, and she wanted to make a Stranger Things TikTok account that she can edit. Okay. And I was like, cool, right? You're also 10, and you really shouldn't be watching it, but that's fine. We will let you watch it. Because I watched it with her. That was our daddy-daughter time. I used to watch Stranger Things with her, and we're waiting for series 4. But anyway, I was like, but you haven't made it private. And I was like, anybody could come and talk to you on this account. They could say they're a 10-year-old boy, but they could be like your granddad's age. Exactly. She was like, and then her face sort of dropped. Absolutely. And I went, I'm not doing it to scare you. Well, I sort of am doing it to scare you. I went, I just want you to be a bit more aware. I was like, because you're very naive. You think everybody's just trying to be your friend. You're trying to be viral on TikTok for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. But but when I first when I first wanted to check, because every now and then I'll go, let me check your phone to make sure you're not looking at things that you shouldn't be. Yeah. Being a parent, and I could see that she got a bit nervous because I had her phone. Like I hold my hands up. I do the same. If I give my phone to my missus, I'm like, she got my phone. Even if I haven't done anything, I'm like, she's gonna find something. Shit. And then I'm like, and then I start hovering. But my daughter did the same last night. So I was on her phone. She went, okay, I'm just gonna go upstairs. It's like, all right, come down in a minute. We'll have a chat. So she went upstairs and she went, I'm just going to clean my teeth. And it's like, usually I have to tell her to go and clean her teeth.
Yeah.
So
I got nervous.
So she went in there and then it was like, she was in bed. And I went, Jess, can you come down? We're having a chat. And she was like, she came down like rubbing her eyes going, oh, but I'm just so tired. It's like,
they go to sleep.
I was like, oh, so you want to go to sleep. I was like, you're not in trouble. I went, if you were in trouble, you would know you're in trouble. Because I've got the turning of the dad voice. I can change it. But yeah, but then we had a nice chat, and I told her about like just be careful with things like that. And when I'm happy you having your TikTok profile with your friends, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Even if they are boys on there, we'll
at least they're her age.
But they're her age. They're smaller than me at the minute, so I could still put them in the bin if I need to.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's just fuck it. Nobody teaches you this shit. Becoming a dad.
I think that's something that needs to be taught to kids, especially right now.
Oh yeah,
they're on servers and everything. It's hard.
But that's one of the things that I want to try and do with the sort of charity thing that I'm thinking about setting up is going into not so much about TikTok and things like that, more about the mental health side of depression, anxiety, and things that I can talk about. Because I remember being at school and I've asked my daughters the same. I was like, do you have people come in and talk to you about that sort of stuff? And they're like, well, so every now and then. It's like, it's sort of something that should be spoke about, especially now. with things like, especially on the internet, like
Mm-hmm.
I've had trolls, I've had haters, I've had people that I thought were friends that are commenting on the book that I wrote and giving me shit, and it's like, I know what that feels like to be targeted and made to feel like shit.
Yeah.
I went, and especially for my daughters, because girls can be nasty.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and then you add in teenage hormones that are going to be up. It's a deadly cocktail.
Oh, minefield.
It's a minefield. Yeah.
I always say, I always say to my wife, I'm like, you might have to deal with that sort of stuff. I went, because I don't know what that's like. I went, I know going through puberty for a boy is different than going through it as a girl. I went, but even when it comes down to bullying and things like that, boys are different, because boys will just do it mainly physically. Mainly.
Yeah.
You get the older one that plays with your head a little bit. Girl, very calculated. Boys are physical. They'll smash you into a locker or something and have a fist fight, and then by the end of the day, they're probably best friends, because you ended up because they got it out. You ended up sticking up for yourself, and they thought, I respect that. Well, girls will just pick and.
Oh, they'll destroy you. They'll destroy your self-esteem and your whole, they do. It's, and then you have any comments from boys on top of it. Boys are mean too.
Boys are mean with girls, especially going through changes. Like, my eldest is now starting to develop. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
She doesn't develop like her mum, but but she's starting to develop, and you can sort of see little bits, like certain t-shirts she wears, and you're like, oh no, what's happening to my baby?
Yeah. It's a rough one, and then you add, maybe boys are showing interest in her, and if she doesn't show the same, then the first thing that a lot of them do is they'll cut you down. So then you have the bullies from the female side, and then you have the boys that, oh, you're not that pretty anyway. Oh, you're fat. Oh, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it creates a dangerous mental health issues and disorders.
Yeah, of course. And it's always a strange one, especially with kids. When you're well, because my girls are 10 and 8. Well, 10 and 7. One's nearly 8. But I always say, it's like, if the boys are mean to you at the minute, that's probably because they like you. So it's a difficult one, because they tend to be like, they'll be more physical and robust and push you and things like that. I'm like, that's because they like you and they don't know how to say it, because if they say that they like a girl, then the boys will go, you like girls? So, it's mad though, isn't it? It's mad, because I think about it now. I think about it now. It was always like, why'd you like girls? It's like, because I like girls. I'm designed to like girls. Why is this a bad thing? Growing up. Yeah, growing up is madness. Not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to the teenage years.
No. I mean, mine's about to be 7, so I'm right behind you.
Yeah, but I find that it's a very endearing age. Especially my youngest, she's 7. She's going to be 8 in February. But she says things just off the cuff. She's very sarcastic. She's very much like me. She's very sarcastic, and basically says the first thing that comes into her head. And I'm like, we were at dinner the other night, and she said something, and I just looked at her as if to go, I should be telling you off right now, but that's a hilarious comeback. I'll give you that one.
They get away with murder when they're funny. They realize that at a young age.
Yeah, she's brilliant. So here's a question for you. Do you still have a dog? I noticed on your Instagram you had a dog.
I do. So my big boy, he was a Mastiff pit bull. He passed away in August. It was rough, but he ended up he developed lymphoma. So we did it. I did my best to make him comfortable, but I had him. I got him when I first got out of the military, and he traveled with me through everything, and he was my rock. And it was weird because I just moved into a new apartment in August, and he literally made it up until the week of the move. And he got to see me off into the new apartment, and then the vet had to come.
Yeah.
I had her come to the home. Yeah.
That's
So
sad.
I
It's
mean,
sad, isn't it? Because
I know it kills me. The big dogs never last long. So that's, he went young. He was 8. But
8.
that was he was
Yeah.
8. Yeah. Yeah. With
He was a big boy. He was a big boy.
Oh, oh yeah.
We recently lost our family dog,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Jerry. We had him. Ooh, it's either 13 or 14 years. I don't know if he's got to his 14th, but I'll tell you what, I was shocked at my reaction because my brother phoned me on the phone. My brother was distraught because Jerry and my dad, so it's my dad's dog. They live with my brother back home. So my brother was there when they put him down. He held him and made him feel comfortable and all that. He phoned me up and he told me, and I blubbered like a fucking baby. And I was like, I wasn't expecting it. And then I phoned my wife. She was like, "What's the matter?" And I went, "They put Jerry down," and I was crying. And she was like, "She went, I've never seen you like this." I went, "Well, he was like my brother. He was, he's always been there. He's always been there." And it was heartbreaking for my niece. So he is literally a month older than my niece, and she's they've grown up together, and now he's gone. It's like, oh, he's just so sad. I was devastated. But
it's devastating. They break your heart. Your heart.
But now it's quite funny now. Well, I'll say funny. So my wife, we've always said we need a bigger house and things like that before we got a dog. But now it's like, oh, I've been looking at puppies. It's like, yes, I'm getting a dog. Can't wait. So hopefully we get one soon.
I know,
because we've got a cat, and as lovely as the cat is, dogs are, in my opinion, they're just better because they actually want your attention. Where cats are like, oh, I'll come over to you in a minute. But yeah. Oh,
you're freezing up on me, Sean. Hold on.
Did I freeze?
You froze, but I can hear you now.
Oh, that's cool.
There we go.
Because you froze in a very funny position. I think the signal is starting to go, especially my end.
Oh, perfect. Great. I love that.
There we go. You're back now. I think my unstable internet connection, most likely. You'll probably find that both my daughters are on fucking Roblox or something, so the internet's going.
That'll do it.
Yeah, the internet's going mad, or I've got extra people in my house or something. So, just before we finish off, any other plans for the rest of the day? What are you doing? Sunday.
The rest of the day, I'm just getting ready for the work week. Probably get a little bit of exercise in. Try to. So I along with cannabis, I do like the research and education for an advocating society called Cannabis Society.
Oh, cool.
So I have some work coming up for their upcoming events, different things. I'm also in my master's program trying to get my nurse practitioner. So I'm getting ready for school to start in a week. So I got a lot to figure out right now.
Loads going on. No downtime for you. You don't get no downtime.
No, well, I'm like you. I can't. The next project's got to be coming, even if I'm not finished with the first one.
Exactly. Best way to be. Keep yourself active until you can't be active anymore, I say.
It's a human experience. If I'm idle, then I'm miserable. So just got
exactly. That is the thing. I find if I haven't got anything planned, or if I don't have an event to be sorting out or anything like that, I'm just a miserable cunt, like all the time. It's like, I need to be doing stuff. Whether it's getting guests on for the podcast or doing a podcast, I've got to be doing stuff. Otherwise, those dark thoughts start creeping back in, and I'm like, "Will you fuck off?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to distract myself with a new project.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I won't take up any more of your morning. Plus, it's lunchtime for me now, and
It is lunchtime.
and I'm fat, so I've got to eat something. So, but it's been my honor, my privilege to have you on the show. It's been a fantastic chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been my honor to be on, and thank you for inviting me. It's been great.
Thank you.
It's been fun. Good laughs.
Good. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you soon.
All right. Thank you. You too. Take care.
See you later.